Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. Buckle up, as it's a long one, and don't forget to listen to the end of the story to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, guys, and please like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. Our first story is from Am I the A-Hole subreddit, and OP is Flimsy Fishing 7421. And she's asking, am I the a-hole for going no contact with my parents after they supported my boyfriend cheating on me with my sister? My parents did not have a favorite child growing up. I, now 24 female, up until 2 years back, was in a relationship with a guy I met in college. I introduced him to my family 2 years back, and my parents did not really like him because of our cultural differences, but were not rude to him. Though my sisters, now 22 female and 11 female, enjoyed his company and welcomed him as part of our family, which made me overjoyed. For context, this guy and me worked in a different city and had been there for just 2 days, and we did not live together because I come from a culture that sees it as a sin, and we could not get a place together before we were married. After the meeting with my family, we left within 2 days. 3 months after this meeting, I was at my boyfriend's place, and while he was in the washroom, there was a notification on his phone. Normally, I don't look through his phone, but that day, I don't know what happened, and I did. It was my sister's message. I went through their chats, and it was full of sexual and flirty texts. I took a screenshot of all that, sent it to my phone, and left without saying a word. Before I reached my apartment, my phone was blowing up with his calls and messages because I did not care to delete the pictures. I told him to screw off, sent it to our friends group chat. We had the same friend group in college, and blocked him. More than his betrayal, I was broken and hurt because of my sister's betrayal. We had been present for each other because of being so close in age, and our parents being absent and neglectful. The very next day, I flew off to my parents' place. She lived with our parents. I confronted her in front of our family, and she admitted all of it without an ounce of shame and hesitation. My mother slapped her, and Dad was very, very angry at her. I was no longer angry, just hurt, and I felt completely broken. Dad gave her a week to move out. But 2 days later, she came in to say that she was pregnant with my ex's child, and this made my parents to soften up to her. I said a lot of harsh words to them, and they told me that no matter what, they won't abandon her. I left and told them never to contact me again. I just kept in touch with my youngest sister because she's a kid, and I was worried about her. I blocked my entire family except her. 2 weeks after this fiasco, I received the wedding invitation from my mother, who had got a new number just to talk to me. Honestly, I was not shocked about the wedding because my parents are very image conscious, and here, having a child out of wedlock is the biggest sin. She called me to say that I have to attend this wedding for the sake of our family, as what will people say if I don't? She went on to say that even I have to get married before my sister's child comes into this world because I'm older than her. I told her to get lost and block this new number of hers. As expected, their wedding happened, and my parents told all the relatives that I wasn't there because I had work commitments. Some relatives and a few cousins I'm close to reached out to me, asking why I wasn't there. Most of them were genuinely concerned, while others were blaming me for not being there for the family and being selfish. Now, this is a bit out of character for me, but I went to Facebook and made a post detailing what happened. Within a few hours, my phone was blowing up, but I ignored it and eventually it stopped. I just talked to a cousin, and she was on my side, and I was sure now most of my extended family knows what happened. Now, coming to present, my dad passed away 5 days back, and though he was not the best person out there, he was my dad. My mom did not even care to tell me, and it was my baby sister who called me crying. I booked the first flight available and went to their place. My sister and mother, just after seeing me, went ahead cursing me and saying that I had no right to be there after abandoning them, and I was just there for the money, and most of the elder relatives agreed. My dad had a will, and I'm surprised knowing that he has me in the will. In fact, I have the most shares in all of his assets. Combined, it goes like me 40%, my youngest sister 30%, my mom 20%, and my douchebag of a sister 10%. My scumbag sister and her husband want me to give up my share and threaten to sue me if I don't do that. I know they cannot do anything legally. Now, honestly, even I feel that this is just too twisted, and my dad would have given a much bigger portion because she has a 1-year-old son, and he had taken her side during all that fiasco. But there's no way I'm giving them anything after what they did to me. We have a meeting with my dad's lawyer in a few hours, and then maybe things will be more clear. Edit. I'm on my way back to the hotel. So I had a meeting with my dad's lawyer, and now some of my questions have been answered. The lawyer is also my father's really close friend. My dad absolutely regretted what has happened to me, but he couldn't go against the cultural norms and my mother. He never supported my sister. It was always my mother, but he did not interfere. He felt guilty, and when I had cut off all contact, there had been an instance when he had called out my sister and her husband, calling them selfish and cheaters. This happened in the absence of my younger sister, so I never knew of this. He constantly checked upon me through my sister, but never had the courage to contact me. He had been suffering from heart disease for a long time, and he had a sudden heart attack. He left my sister money so that she could not easily challenge the court, and also for her kid. I doubt she will save up anything for her son with her extravagant lifestyle. My mother has been a stay-at-home mom all of her life, so this is a sort of retirement money, which he felt he owed her. The house has always been in my mom's name, so I've been living in a hotel. My youngest sister has a fund of a really good amount, which she will receive when she turns 18, and nobody can access it before that. Not even my mom, to which I am thankful. I have the same amount as her with all his shares, because my father was a very active investor. This is what the lawyer told me. Now, to the person who called me greedy and I'm just as bad as my sister. I ain't. I did not know of the will when I came here. Honestly, I had expected that there would be nothing for me seeing our past. I've never hated my parents, not even my mom, even after what she did, let alone my dad. I was just disappointed in them, but they are my parents no matter what. I was grief-stricken when I heard of his death. I'm already in contact with a lawyer friend of mine, and he has assured me that there's not much she can do because she is part of the will and has not been ignored completely. She will probably lose whatever she has if she does. My sister got pregnant because my boyfriend flew every weekend to the place where my parents live, and it is merely a 2-hour flight. I did not know because his job requires him to travel all the time. I do not know the details, though, because I don't want to find out. I also asked if there's any way I can get the custody of my youngest sister, because my mom and sister can mistreat her. But as of now, I can't, because there's nothing they have done of that sort. My sister has assured me that she will not take any BS from them and will immediately inform me. At the end of the meeting, the idiot husband of my sister threatened me saying, "You will regret doing this." And I replied with a, "Once a cheater, always a cheater." My mother called me names, and her words are the only thing that hurts me nowadays. I highly doubt they will stop here, though. I'm here in town for the next 10 days. Hopefully everything goes well. I will update if something happens. The fact OP's dad has left OP more says he was sorry for everything that happened, but was trapped by circumstances and never got the chance to reconcile with OP. And it's neither OP's responsibility nor within her rights to alter his final decisions. OP is not at fault for going no contact with her family after they supported OP's sister's betrayal. Emotional health must come first. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Not the a-hole. Your dad's will is his will. He willed you the money. How dare they try to overthrow his will? How disrespectful. Scumbags indeed. Sounds like your dad was apologizing to you after death. People are allowed to sue each other for nearly any ridiculous reason, and they sometimes win, despite the law not being on their side, because going to court is extremely expensive for everyone, and settling out of court is often cheaper for the person being sued. So your sister certainly can sue legally, and even though the law isn't on her side, she can make it so potentially costly that settling out of court is preferred. I strongly recommend you get a lawyer, because it will be so much more expensive for you without one. The reason the law is certainly on your side is your dad specifically put your sister in his will. If she wasn't mentioned at all, she could claim there was an oversight and your dad intended to leave her more, but not with a specific inclusion. Also, she would have to sue his estate, not you, to claim that the will isn't split right. This impacts everyone, your mom and your youngest sister. Laugh in your sister's face, tell her to go F herself, but find a lawyer just in case. Not the a-hole. If your mom thinks it's unfair, she can give your middle sister her own share. Hopefully some type of letter was left to explain the reasoning for doing it this way. Take what you get. The one who dies gets to decide how to divide their assets. Our second story is from Am I an A-hole subreddit by OP Garby. And OP is asking, am I the a-hole for giving my stay-at-home mom wife a written performance review with suggested areas needing improvement? I, 33 male, share one child, 6 female, with my wife, 36 female. She has another daughter, 13 female, that lives with us full-time. We also have custody of our niece, 15 female. The teens are each other's best friends. They share a large bedroom, which was done at their request. The dynamic here is pretty much mom and youngest against the teens, with me being the referee between everyone. My wife has taught the youngest she can blame others for her actions to avoid consequences. She just says the word, and one of the teens will get punished without question. There's no doubt, she is my wife's favorite. I love her, but she's becoming nothing more than an entitled brat. As just a mere example, my wife and I had an appointment we both needed to attend. When we came back, it was apparent the pool had been used. They're not allowed to swim while we aren't home. As the youngest divulged, "Mommy, I was in the room coloring. I never went swimming." The teen said that was not true. She had gone swimming as well. Only the teens were punished. My wife refused to give the youngest any type of consequence. I later found her wet swimming suit hidden in the garage. My wife and I argued. I felt strongly she needed to not only be punished for swimming, but also for lying. After a relentless disagreement, I was silenced as she gave the youngest a very minimal consequence. The lying, blaming, and favoritism ultimately caused the teens to act out, understandably. Most of their consequences are done by giving more chores, specifically the chores the 6-year-old has. Or as recent, they were removed from music lessons as a consequence. I believe they're so frustrated, they don't even care when they verbally attack their mother after her unfair treatment towards them. After all, they already get blamed and punished for things they didn't even do. From my perspective, lashing out gives them a release. We've had countless, tiring arguments. She'd either not see her faults, or we'd agree to do this and that, but it was never actually done. I decided to write her a performance review as a stay-at-home mom. Her areas in need of improvement, well, it was a lot. But I touched on how she needs to listen better, stop being biased, be fair in all her decisions, stop making rash decisions without taking all 3 kids into consideration. I recommended her to give each child the same amount of one-on-one alone time to speak, or just be with one another. So it wouldn't be entirely a slap to her face, I gave her accolades on her strong points for other areas outside from parenting. I guess I felt this would work best, because I could organize my thoughts on paper without her interjecting. However, it quickly backfired in my face. She was quiet the first hour after I handed it to her. Then she completely exploded on me. Said if we're going to do this type of crap, she'll get a private bank account and take half my paycheck every week. She further said the review was aggressive and a manipulative, chauvinistic move. Am I the a-hole? Well, she's OP's wife, not his employee, and OP is her husband, not her boss. I understand OP tried everything to make his wife hear him, but in this case, I think OP took it too far. Maybe a better way to communicate would be a letter or therapy. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Everyone sucks here. The concerns you have are legitimate, and it needs an urgent solution. But the way you went about it is really unhealthy. The parenting of your children is not a project. You are not her boss. You are her husband and the father of her kid. Giving her a performance review comes across as really condescending and, as she said, manipulative. Everyone sucks here because your wife should listen to the teens more. But more you, for one, the performance and review, and 2, for having the idea that a 6-year-old should face the same consequences as 2 teens for something like swimming unsupervised. The teens have the critical thinking skills to make that decision. The 6-year-old? Yay, I get to go swimming. Presumably the teens were in charge of their younger sibling. They instigated the behavior, and yes, should have more severe consequences. It is not entitled brat behavior for a 6-year-old to join her sibling swimming, and then try to hide the evidence or even lie about it once it becomes clear they did something wrong. It's developmentally normal. The performance review was a step too far, and your wife is right. If she is your employee, then you owe her years of pay. I was ready to call you an a-hole, but I can't. I think you acted in desperation because you see your wife favoring the 6-year-old at the expense of the teens. You have the additional fear of the 6-year-old turning into a manipulative brat due to your wife's actions. But did it have to be a performance review? Could you have just written her a heartfelt letter? You've got problems bigger than a pissed-off wife. You've got 3 kids who all need a stable home and to be treated fairly and equally. And the teens need to be heard. Somehow, you've got to convince your wife family therapy is in order. I'm going with not the a-hole. And our third story is also from subreddit Am I an A-hole? OP is accomplished Mango 209 and is asking, am I the a-hole for evicting my brother and his family from the house I've inherited so my daughter can live there? I, 40 female, have a daughter, Caroline, 17 female. My brother Adam, 34 male, is married and has 2 kids under the age of 5. Back when I was in my 20s, our great-grandmother ended up with an illness which required someone to take care of her. This ended up being me, as everyone else was busy with their lives, and I've only recently graduated from uni back then. Due to this, when she passed away, I've inherited the house she lived in, which is a small 2-bedroom. I've lived there until I got married, and me and my husband ended up moving to a bigger property. About a year later, my brother asked if I'm willing to rent it out to him, which I agreed to do, but have warned him I will need it back when Caroline turns 18. She was 3 at the time, since it is very close to universities and city center. Legal agreement was drafted for the rent, significantly below market value, so everything was followed by the book. About a year ago, I've informed my brother about needing the house back as my daughter's going to be 18, and I would like to have some repairs done before she moves in. My brother ignored me, so I've issued him notice to vacate, which was also ignored. As he continued to ignore me, I have no choice but apply for a court order to evict him, with hearing taking place last month. Last week, him and his family were officially evicted. Upon getting into the house, I've noticed it was in horrible condition, and it would take a few months just to get it somewhat habitable, let alone do redecorating or repairs. I've raised this with my brother, since he was meant to look after the house and let me know of any repairs. But this talk ended up in an argument where I was called an a-hole for evicting him and his family, so my spoiled daughter can live by herself and not giving them enough notice. They had just over a year to find something suitable. He also said I've inherited the house by cheating. My parents are on his side since Adam and his family live with them. OP gave him many warnings, and he lived in that house since Caroline was 3, so he knew what was happening and chose to ignore it. He got himself into that situation and needs to stop acting entitled and actually listen. Not the a-hole. He's lived there for roughly 14 or 15 years, paying substantially below market rent prices, which should have allowed him to save up a considerable sum to put towards a home of his own. He clearly chose not to, as he had to move in with your parents. His life choices are not your problem. Regarding the state of the home, did you not visit him over the years and notice the deterioration? Or is there revenge damage caused shortly before they moved? Not the a-hole, but I don't know why you raised the issue of repairs when you evicted him. That sibling relationship is clearly fractured, and I don't know what you're expecting to get from any conversation. So, Adam has known he had to move since your daughter was 3, and now she's 17. So, that's a math problem. Math tells us that Adam has known for 14 years that he would have to move out of your house. In what Looney Tunes world is that not enough notice? Curious, was Adam just lazy and let the house fall into disrepair? Or did he trash the house intentionally because you evicted him?